Welcome back to the deep dive. Usually when we sit down to go through a stack of research or, crack open a new book, we're tackling something solid,
Right.
something with edges.
Tangible stuff.
Yeah, exactly. We're looking at, say, the history of the steam engine or the latest neuroscience on sleep cycles. We're usually dealing with the how and the when, but
Today is different.
today is very different. We are zooming out, way, way out. We are
Mhm.
looking at the mechanics of the Industrial Revolution. We are looking at source material that tries to answer the absolute biggest questions a human being can possibly ask. And I'm not exaggerating.
No, you're really not.
Yeah.
We are tackling the heavyweights of metaphysics today.
We're talking about the nature of God, the actual definition of infinity, and the hard, frustrated limits of human intelligence.
It's ambitious, to say the least.
The text we're diving into is the Spirit's book. Specifically, we're drilling down into Book First Causes, Chapter 1. Now, before you roll your eyes and think this is just another dry philosophy textbook, there is a twist here that we have to talk about right out of the gate.
Right, because the whole premise of this book is unique. It doesn't present itself as, the musings of a single author sitting in a study.
Right. Thinking really hard.
No.
Yeah.
It presents itself as a transcript.
The transcript of an interrogation.
Exactly, an interrogation of so-called communicating spirits. The text claims the answers to these huge questions aren't the author's ideas, but the very words of these intelligences.
Which gives the whole thing a very specific flavor. And whether you believe that premise or not, we have to treat the text on its own terms for today.
Absolutely. Our mission for this deep dive isn't to debate the theology. We're not here to prove ghosts exist or anything like that.
No.
Our goal is to look at the logical structure of the arguments being presented. We're going to unpack 3 specific questions from this chapter about the first cause.
And we want to see how this text defines things that, frankly, usually break our brains when we try to think about them too hard.
And see if the logic holds up. Because, surprisingly for a book about spirits, it is incredibly logical.
So let's get into the mechanics of the text first, because you pointed something out, a formatting note actually, that really changes how we read this.
It does. I mean, if you're just skimming, you might miss it. But the book makes a hard visual distinction between 2 voices.
Okay.
You have the questions asked by the human author, Allan Kardec, and then you have the answers.
Yeah.
And the answers from the spirits are always in inverted commas.
So quotation marks mean the source.
Correct. The very words, supposedly. But then, after an answer, you'll sometimes see a paragraph in smaller type with no quotes.
And that's the author's commentary.
Precisely. So that distinction is crucial for what we're doing. We're looking at 2 distinct voices, an interrogation of the beyond, which tends to be very concise, almost cryptic.
And then the human trying to categorize and explain those answers.
It's almost like looking at raw data versus the analyst's report on the data.
That is a great way to put it.
The spirits provide the data point, and the author tries to build a framework around it.
Okay, let's look at the data then. Let's tackle the first big question. The text starts with a bang. Question number 1.
No warm-up at all. No, how are you doing?
Just straight to it. What is God?
The ultimate question.
And the answer is, it's surprisingly short. I mean, you'd expect a 20-page essay from a theologian, but the spirits just say, God is the supreme intelligence first cause of all things. That's it.
10 words. But every single one is doing a lot of heavy lifting. Let's break it down, starting with that first half. Supreme intelligence.
Okay, to me that implies consciousness,
Well,
intent.
It immediately rejects the idea of a blind random force. The materialist argument that the universe is just atoms banging into each other and randomness eventually creates order.
The infinite monkeys on infinite typewriters theory.
Exactly. But this definition says no. It says there is a mind behind it, a supreme intelligence.
So the universe isn't an accident, it's a construct.
A construct of intent. And then you get the second part, first cause of all things.
This feels like a logical necessity.
It is. It's a very Aristotelian idea, actually. You look at the world, you see effects. Everything is an effect of a prior cause.
Like a chain reaction.
A causal chain. And if you trace that chain of cause and effect back and back and
But
back.
you have to hit a wall eventually.
You have to. You can't have an infinite regression. You can't have turtles all the way down.
Right.
So you have to arrive at something that was not caused by something else. The uncaused cause. The first cause.
So the text is defining God not as a person, a guy with a beard on a cloud, but as a logical function of the universe, the starting point.
In this definition, yes,
Mhm.
it's grounding the concept in causality. It's saying for anything to exist, there must be an origin point, and that origin point is intelligent. It's a very rationalist approach.
It's surprisingly scientific in its structure. It's
Yeah.
not asking for faith, it's asking for logical consistency.
Exactly. It's not saying believe this because we said so. It's saying look at the effect and deduce the cause.
Okay, so God is the supreme intelligence and first cause, but then the text immediately pivots to something just as mind-bending. Question 2.
What is to be understood by infinity?
And this is where it gets really interesting for me. This is where the text starts to play with our perceptions.
Mm-hmm.
The answer given is that which has neither beginning nor end, the unknown. All that is unknown is infinite.
Did you catch that shift?
The second half stopped me in my tracks. All that is unknown is infinite.
It's a fascinating pivot, isn't it? The first half, neither beginning nor end, that's the standard mathematical definition, a line that goes on forever. But the second half turns it into a psychological or an epistemological concept.
Epistemological, break that down for us.
Epistemology is just the study of knowledge, how we know what we know. The text is basically equating infinity with the unknown.
So it's not just about size or duration, it's about our ability to grasp something.
Right. Think about the ocean to an ancient explorer. You're on the coast of Portugal in the year 1000. You don't have a map of the Americas. You look out the Atlantic and what do you see?
Just water.
Endless water.
To you, in that moment, the ocean is infinite. Why? Because its boundary is unknown to you.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Because the ocean isn't infinite, it hits land eventually. But to the explorer, it might as well be.
Subjectively, yes. The source is suggesting that infinity might just be the label we slap onto things that are bigger than our own mental capacity.
So it's less about the thing itself and more about our own limitations.
Precisely. If I walk into a pitch-black warehouse and I can't see the walls, to me, that room is infinite. The infinite is just the darkness where my knowledge ends.
That feels like a huge aha moment. It changes infinity from something really, really big to something I just don't get yet.
Yes. And that sets up the trap that the interrogator, Kardec, falls into with the very next question.
He tries to be smart. He tries to combine the two ideas.
Yeah, he tries to do the math. Question 3, he asks, can it be said that God is infinity?
Seems like a logical leap, right? God is the first cause. Infinity is huge.
Right.
Surely God is infinity.
It sounds profound, like something on a bumper sticker. God is infinity. But the spirits, they do not like it.
They shut it down immediately.
They just say, an incomplete definition.
And the reason they give is the real takeaway. They say, poverty of human speech incompetent to define what transcends human intelligence.
Poverty of human speech. That is harsh.
It's harsh, but is it wrong? I mean, think about what language is for.
Well, we invented it to tell each other where the good hunting is or how to build a fire.
Exactly. Our language is a tool that evolved for the finite world. It's built to describe things with edges, things we can measure. Rock, tree.
So when we try to use those same tools to describe the first cause or the supreme intelligence, the tools just break.
It's like trying to catch the wind with a fishing net. The net isn't broken, it's just the wrong tool for the job.
Or trying to explain the color red to someone who's been blind from birth. You can use analogies, you can say it's hot or intense, but the words can't hold the reality of the experience.
So when they say poverty of human speech, they're really saying, you can call God infinity if you want, but you're just using a vague word to cover up the fact that you can't process the reality.
You're mistaking the map for the territory.
Yes, and that leads us perfectly into the author's commentary, the small type. This is where he really tries to unpack this rejection.
Right, he dives into the logic of why saying God is infinity is technically a category error.
A category error, yeah. The author writes, God is infinite in his perfections, but infinity is an abstraction.
Okay, let's unpack that word, abstraction.
An abstraction is an idea, a quality. It's not a thing. So take a red apple. The apple is the thing. Redness is the abstraction. It's an attribute of the apple.
So I can hold an apple, but I can't hold redness.
Exactly. You can't have redness just floating around without something to be read. So the author argues that to say God is infinity is to substitute the attribute of a thing for the thing itself.
That makes sense. It's like saying my dog is fluffy. No, my dog is a dog. Fluffiness is a trait. If I said my dog is fluffiness, that's just nonsense.
You're confusing the quality with the entity. Fluffiness can't bark. And in the same way, infinity can't create a universe. Infinity is just a description of scope. It isn't an intelligence.
So saying God is infinity is just logically sloppy.
It reduces an active agent, the supreme intelligence, to a passive concept. And the author takes it one step further. He points out the logical loop we get stuck in.
Oh,
It says it's like to define something unknown by reference to some other thing equally unknown.
oh, I love that. Walk us through that.
It's brilliant. So if I ask you, what is God? And you say, God is infinity. And then I ask, okay, what is infinity? And based on our earlier definition, you say,
Infinity is the unknown.
exactly. So all you've really said is God is the unknown. You haven't answered anything.
You've just moved the mystery from one box to another. It's a shell game.
It is.
Yeah.
You've given the mystery a different name, but you haven't increased your understanding at all. You just feel like you have.
This really highlights what's so cool about this text. You'd expect a book called The Spirit's Book to be, I don't know, a bit woo-woo, lots of vibes.
Right.
But this section is just rigorously logical. It will not let you get away with lazy thinking.
It really doesn't. It demands precision. It's saying, don't use words you don't understand to define concepts you can't grasp. It's a plea for intellectual humility.
It's almost a critique of how we usually talk about spirituality. We throw around these big words, omnipotent, infinite, and we feel good because they sound impressive.
But this text is asking, do you actually know what those words mean? Or are you just making noise?
It's stripping away the comfort of the vocabulary. It forces you to confront the first cause as something that stands completely outside your ability to describe it.
It's like the text is saying, put down the dictionary. It can't help you here.
Okay, so let's recap where we've been. We've covered some serious ground.
We have.
We started with the definition of God, not as a personality, but as supreme intelligence and first cause, the necessary starting point.
Then we looked at infinity. And the text redefines it not just as endless, but as the unknown. Infinity is the boundary line of human knowledge.
And finally, the linguistic trap. The failure of our own language. Saying God is infinity is logically sloppy because you're defining one unknown with another unknown.
It all comes down to the limits of the human mind versus the reality of the universe.
You know, at the end of a deep dive, we always ask, so what? Why does this matter to someone driving to work right now?
Well, I think the relevance is about that intellectual humility we mentioned. It doesn't matter what you believe. Religious, atheist, agnostic. This text challenges you to be precise in your thinking. It challenges us to recognize when we're using words as placeholders for understanding. In our world, we think we can Google everything. We think if we have a word for it, we own it.
We think naming something is the same as knowing it.
Right. But this reminds us that there are realities, the origin of the universe, consciousness, that might fundamentally transcend our vocabulary.
The map is not the territory.
And sometimes the most honest answer is just admitting the limits of our own tools.
It's refreshing, actually. It takes the pressure off. You don't have to understand the infinite. You literally can't. Your hardware isn't built for it.
Right. You're trying to run a 4D program on a 3D operating system. It's not a bug. It's a feature of being human.
I love that image. Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with something to chew on, something that stuck with me from that definition of infinity.
The unknown part.
Yeah. If the text is right, if all that is unknown is infinite, then think about what happens every time we learn something new. Every time science makes a discovery, every time we map a new part of the ocean, we are turning the unknown into the known.
We're converting the mysterious into the understood.
So does that mean our perception of infinity effectively shrinks every time we learn something? If infinity is just a label for what we don't know, then as our knowledge expands, does the infinite retreat?
That is a fascinating thought. Does the horizon just move further away, or maybe learning one thing just opens the door to 10 new questions you didn't even know you had?
Does the flashlight get brighter, making you realize the darkness is even bigger than you thought?
Exactly.
Something to think about. That's it for this deep dive into the Spirit's Book. We'll catch you next time.